What's good, everybody? I'm Derek Davis, and you're watching the Young and Powerful Podcast, Mental Health Edition. Tonight, we have a special guest. We have I'm going to let her introduce herself because she can introduce herself better than I can. So go on ahead, Dr. Lynette.
Sure. Okay. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Lynette Sparkman Barnes. I'm a clinical psychologist and multicultural specialist. I'm have been a psychologist for over 20 years now. Currently, I've been at KU Med Center for 5 years, and I'm associate director of their counseling services there for their students and residents, and provider for the professional well-being service as well. So, yeah.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you accepted my invitation to just talk about mental health because May is the month of mental health.
Yeah.
So
Mental Health
we
Awareness Month. So I've been doing a lot of talking. So,
Yes. Yes. So I have a few questions that I have for you, jotted I sent to you today.
mhm.
Uh, First off, we're just going to introduce our viewers of who are you.
Well, okay. So, it's actually Reverend Dr. Lynette Sparkman Barnes. I'm a psychologist. I'm a minister. I'm a wife. I'm a mother, sister, daughter, a sorority member, a community activist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wear many hats, and all of them are so integral to my being and my purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
I am a woman that has had mental health concerns, and I'm a woman that is really working on my mental health and emotional well-being along with, everyone else out there.
Okay. Okay. Now we're going to go into our first question.
Mhm.
Is in your definition, what is mental health?
Yeah, that's a really broad question.
Okay.
And I think that I'll answer it a couple of ways. I think that we have to look at it broadly and more corporately, and we have to look at it individually as well. I think when we consider it more corporately, mental health is basically that state of emotional well-being where we feel as if we're walking in our authentic selves,
Okay.
where we feel that we are managing our stressors and navigating in our lives well, where we are having um, powerful and healthy relationships where we are being good to ourselves as well as good to others. And so I think, when we think corporately, that's a good definition or concept of mental health. And I think my challenge for everyone is to think about what is mental health to you individually. When we think about mental health, often we think in terms of, good or bad or sane or crazy or insane. We think on the binary, and we become very extreme in our thinking. But we have to consider our own individual selves. We have to consider our culture, our family cultures, our racial, ethnic, historical,
Mm-hmm.
political, social, socioeconomic cultures as well, to know then what emotional wellness is to all of us. When I gave that corporate definition or that corporate concept, I pulled in several, significant factors for us to consider in terms of our mental health. And so, talked about number one, well being. What does that mean to be well? Right?
Okay.
What does that
Mm-hmm.
mean to feel well? What does that mean to feel like you are engaged in your world? To
Okay.
feel that you're hopeful for the day, to feel that you can make a difference,
Mm-hmm.
and that you have purpose and power in this world, you know. And then I also talked about it in terms of relationships. Okay, how are you navigating in your relationships? What relationships are most salient and powerful to you? How are
Mm-hmm.
you um, receiving and giving in those particular relationships? And then I also talked about kind of how we move in our everyday life, how we navigate. I like to use the term navigate, because it implies that, yes, we're all going down a road. And just because there are bumps and turns and detours and roadblocks and things like that doesn't mean that anything is necessarily wrong with us. It's really how we're able to navigate those particular things. And so, you know, again, let's take it to the very much individual and personal level. How do you feel that you are navigating within your life and coping and managing your stressors, be that in your home, at work, in your community, on your job, you know, in your neighborhood, wherever that is? How do you feel that you are navigating those streets and managing any stressors that might take place?
Okay. To piggyback on what you said, I had a podcast, a topic that I was going to talk about. It was called Navigating Mental Issues.
Yeah.
And I had two people that I was going to talk to about it, and they were young people, and I was like, I don't know, I'm not specialized in this field. So I looked it up, and I said, I can't give anyone good advice on this topic when I'm not specialized in that field.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But you know, I'll challenge you, because I think that you probably could give very good insights. You know, you don't have to specialize in a field to say, hey, okay, you have a headache, maybe you should take some Tylenol, or you know, you have a cold, maybe you should do this, that, or the other, or it hasn't gone away, maybe you should see a
Hmm.
specialist. And very similarly with mental health concerns, you know, especially when you're talking about young people, just to be there and available for someone to say, I hear you and I see you. A lot of people think that mental health professionals, that it's really all about, let me just listen to you and then let me give you advice. I tell people, I don't give advice. That's not what I'm doing. You know, you can go to an advice column if you want somebody to give you advice. I am a professional that helps you better understand who you are and how you are in your world, and help
Hmm.
you learn how to navigate your world in a way that is healthy, and in a way that um, brings about the kind of love and living that we all are pretty much looking for.
Okay, okay, I like that answer. Is And then it brings me to my next question. What
Mhm.
do you do if the support doesn't help?
Yeah. So when you ask that, you mean, what do you do? Like, if you're a person who's gone for support and support doesn't,
Yes.
is that okay? Yeah. So, short answer, keep asking, keep looking, keep going for support. It's okay. You know, it's just like when you're in school, and like, say you're in high school and you have like 8 teachers or something like that, right? For, you know,
Yes.
each hour of school. You're going to have certain teachers that are like, you know, we're just not connecting. We're just not vibing. I don't understand the information like you're explaining it to, you know, you're trying to explain it to me. And then you're going to have, you know, a couple of teachers where you're like, wow, we really connected. I really like this particular teacher. They seem to get me. They seem to get my learning style. They seem to understand how to explain things in a way that makes sense to me. Okay. When we're talking about human relationship, you're going to have that. The first person that you come to may not be the person that you
Mhm.
feel that you click with, that you connect with. But that doesn't stop you then from going and finding someone else. Keep searching. Go on to the next person. Um, people ask me for referrals all the time. And so I generally give at least 3 referrals because I understand that not everybody clicks in the
Mhm.
same way. And
Mhm.
so, hey, okay, try these 3 people. To start with this person and see how you like them. And if you don't feel that that's working, then go to this person, and then you can go, to this person. But um, don't give up just because you don't feel that you're clicking. And often when we're talking about help, you know, how is this person helping me? So much of it depends upon the relationship that we have with that person. If we feel that we are actually clicking with
Mhm.
one another, then I'm more open to hearing what you have to say to me. I'm more open to hearing how you might want to guide me through my issues. If I truly feel that we are clicking and connecting, bonding in this relationship.
I like that answer. Some people don't know how to ask for help.
That's the truth. That is true. Yes. A lot of people don't know how to ask for help. And a lot of people, even if they do know how to ask for help, will not ask for help.
Mhm.
And there's a stigma, still a very big stigma attached to mental health and mental illness. And people, you say the word mental, whether you say mental health or mental illness, and people automatically just think crazy.
Mhm.
Well, what does that even mean? Look, anxiety is the most diagnosed mental illness there is, and most everybody experiences anxiety. I
Yes,
think
they do.
anybody who is looking and or listening to this podcast, and you and I, we have all experienced anxiety in some way, shape, or form. That anxiety might not have caused us, significant concern regarding us being able to do our work or in our relationships or something like that. However, I think we have to admit that most of us understand what it's like to feel anxious, to feel worried about
Overwhelmed.
something. Yes, absolutely. So if we can understand that, we have to understand that some people have that experience at
Mhm.
a more heightened level than other people do. So, say, for example, you and I might be anxious about, doing a podcast or something like that. And it's like, okay, I'm a little anxious about it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to, conquer my fear, or I'm going to take some deep breaths, or I'm going to do this because I feel that I can really do this. Whereas somebody else, their anxiety might be more heightened and
Mhm.
more and basically at a clinical level, and so they would never think to do a podcast. They would be like, no, I don't want anybody to interview me. I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be heard or seen. I just get very fearful about what other people are going to think
Mhm.
about me and what they're going to say about me and how I'm going to look and how I'm going to sound and things like that. More so of a social anxiety. Okay. And I hope, even as I'm describing some of these symptoms, people might be thinking, oh, yeah, I feel that sometimes. Or, gosh, maybe that is me. And that's why I haven't done this or that. Or that's why I avoid certain situations, or I don't go to certain places because I do feel so anxious about
Okay, I would agree with you. I would like the other. I was like a couple. like a year ago, I was just so anxious. I'm like, oh, I got to get this. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. And then I had
Yeah.
to sit there and I had to sit there and say, take a deep breath, relax, take control, and do what you
Yeah.
need to do to get finished
Yeah.
with your task. Because I mean, I tell you, I over exaggerate. Like
Mm.
like when I since I've been older, I've started using my calendar with dates and stuff. When I was younger, I didn't do that.
Yeah. And
I
you
don't know.
probably didn't need to do it when you were younger. You know, as
No.
you got older and you started doing more things and you had to juggle more
Hmm.
responsibilities, you know, and then sometimes that's when that anxiety then comes on because we are juggling so many things, even in our everyday lives. You know, I talked about, I'm, I'm a wife and I'm a mother and I'm a minister and I'm a sorority member and, and I'm a psychologist. There are many demands upon my life and I juggle
Hmm.
many things. And yes, there are times when it's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to drop this ball. I don't want to drop that ball. I don't want to drop this other ball. And you get a little bit
Hmm.
anxious about it. And then, like you said, sometimes it's deep breaths. Sometimes it's really just kind of taking that step back and saying, okay, if this ball drops, what's the worst that can happen? Sometimes it's just really having self compassion for, feeling anxious or having self compassion for when a ball does drop.
I would agree with you. I
Yeah,
used I used to I it used to make me so upset when like I dropped the ball on some things, but I don't get mad anymore. Okay, move on. How can you fix it so it won't happen again?
exactly. And I think we have to remember, when we have our friends or other people come to us and say, you might have a friend come and say, oh man, I just, I wanted to get this done and I missed the deadline. I didn't, I wasn't able to get it done. You're going to tell that friend, oh, gosh, I'm really sorry to hear that, but it's okay, man. Um, uh, you know, it was okay. They were all right. Okay. At least you got it done. I'm really glad that you got it done. Next time, you can come to me for help. You don't have to do it on your own. We say that type of thing to our friends, but
Hmm.
we don't say that type of thing to ourselves. And that's what self-compassion is. We're able to be compassionate to other people, but it's really hard for us to turn that compassion on ourselves.
I would agree. I
And
would
it's
agree
really
with that.
necessary for us to turn that compassion on ourselves.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. And then, well, it'll bring me to our next question is, can you prevent mental health problems, in your opinion?
Hmm. That is a tricky question
Okay.
to answer. So, some mental illnesses are, biological
Okay.
for some people. Okay. And so basically, like sometimes people are hardwired, say, for example, to be anxious. And one way for you to be able to tell this is really by looking, at your other family members. So, say, for example, you find yourself very anxious. One of the first things I ask is, who else in your family is anxious? Mother, father, sister, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. Who else was anxious? And I mean, 99% of the time, somebody else in that family or several people in that family also struggle with anxiety. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a bio, that's going to be passed down. However, how we manage things and how we, cope with things is passed down. So, for example, if I'm anxious as a mother and I kind of project my anxiety on my children to say, oh my gosh, you better not do this because this, that, and the other can happen, or make
Hmm.
sure that you've thought this through in 5 different kinds of ways before you set off and do this, then they learn how to be anxious because I kind of put that on them. Right. And
Right.
so that gets passed down. But yes, some mental illnesses are hereditary, like schizophrenia, big genetic component to that, passed down basically, through your, bloodline. Um, and sometimes anxiety, can be like that as well. Now, when we're talking about um, the things in our world that make us, say, for example, anxious or depressed. So we might be hardwired to be anxious or depressed. However, one thing that we can do is really focus on, instead of preventing, more so how we're going to manage and cope.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly we can prevent things like having a whole lot of drama in our lives. Okay.
Right.
A whole lot of drama leads to a whole lot of anxiety or depression or other things. And so
Mm-hmm.
some things um, can be in our control, but often we don't know what can be in our control until somebody has said, have you ever thought about this and how this might be impacting your mental health? I think we
Wow.
hear the word boundaries all the time, but we don't quite
Yes.
know what that means. And that's a very broad term as well. But when I say boundaries, um, I want people to maybe replace that with protect your peace.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Sometimes boundaries sounds like so harsh. It sounds like, well, no, then people are going to be mad at me because I tell them no or something like that. But when I say protect your peace, I'm talking about a protection for you.
I
Okay.
agree.
And sometimes protecting ourselves means, oh, I can't do that for you right now
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to hurt me, or I'm just really not at peace. And so sometimes that's a little easier to understand and a little easier to wrap our minds around,
Mm-hmm.
protecting our peace. I also like to tell people to budget their energy.
Yes.
And that's another way of saying boundaries. But when we make it about then ourselves and what we need to do to be healthy versus making it about, I just don't want you around me, or I'm going to say this to you and you're going to get mad at me, or I'm going to say this to you and you're going to think I'm mean. Then we
Mm-hmm.
make it about the other person. But when we say protect my peace, I'm going to
Right.
protect my peace. I'm going to budget my energy. It's about my peace and my energy. It's about my health right now.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, I always tell folks, if you've ever flown on a plane, and one of the first things the flight attendants tell you as you're, getting ready to take off, and they talk about the exits and things like that, and they say in the case of the loss of cabin pressure, the masks are going to come down, and assist yourself first, and then assist your children or your companions that might need assistance. And I think often, and especially as Black folks and other people of color, we often feel that we're being selfish,
Mm-hmm.
self involved, self indulgent when we think about assisting ourselves first. But there's a reason why it's so important for us to assist ourselves first. If you think about a plane and the loss of cabin pressure, and you are with someone who needs assistance, like a child or maybe someone who's quite elderly or someone with disabilities or whatever, someone who needs assistance. If you aren't able to be in a frame of mind
Mm-hmm.
to help, both you and the person you're trying to assist will perish.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's
That's
powerful.
why it's so important for us. And that's the assist yourself first is protecting your peace and budgeting your energy so that you can be well enough to help someone else.
Well enough.
Well enough. Two two people can't get well when both are gasping for air.
That's something.
Hmm.
That's something. You talked about your being a psychiatrist. How long have you been a psychiatrist?
Well, I'm a psychologist, not a psychiatrist.
Uh,
There's a
uh,
difference. That's
Sorry.
okay. That's okay. And I've been a psychologist for over 20 years now. I know a lot of people just kind of confuse that. Both are doctors of a sort. Psychiatrists are medical doctors, and psychologists are more so doctors of like philosophy or clinical psychology or something like that. So
Okay.
uh, whereas one is very specified to like medicine and things like that, the other is specified to a different kind of treatment.
Okay. Okay. And you have your own office, don't you?
I currently I've been with KU Med,
Okay.
University of Kansas Medical Center, and I've been with them for 5 years now. And I am associate director of counseling services there, and provide treatment for students and residents. And I'm also a provider in what's called our Professional Wellbeing Center, where I provide treatment to physicians, nurse practitioners, physicians assistants, um, other advanced practice providers too. So have a couple of offices with KU. Yeah.
That sounds good. That sounds good. First, and then we reached the end of our interview. First of all,
Okay.
I want to thank you for joining me tonight. Uh,
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you for
yes,
inviting me. I so enjoy your podcast. You are wonderful. Thank you for bringing such relevant issues to the public.
yes,
I pray that, I mean, this is a ministry, Derek. I pray your ministry is blessed. I pray the increase on it. I pray somebody has been touched tonight. And I just thank you. Thank you for
yes.
your ministry.
Yes, thank you for people who were watching. Please like and comment and subscribe. I'm trying to get more subscribers. Uh, if you want to send a donation to my podcast, send it all through my Cash App, $ Derek Lamont D. It's in the pin on the comments. Um, Thank you again, Reverend Dr. Lynette. Send me people who you want to interview. I will
Okay.
I will be more greatly to interview them. I'm looking for actually more people to interview because when you deal with people, you get yes or no, and I will be greatly to work with
True.
you with anything.
Oh, so appreciated. All right. Well, you take care.
All right, thank
Or
you.
what I tell everybody, take good care. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Good night, everyone.